Good morning, legends and super legends. It's time to roll. I'm getting started here. Turn everything on here. Rear light going. Get the front light going. Get started. It's about 20 or 21 Celsius. It's a warm morning. It's supposed to be overcast. So the high is supposed to be around 28 C, but it's gonna dip back and forth. Get cooler, then warm back up, so forth and so on. So I'm heading out to meet Team RR. I will try to get some clips for you all. This is more of a rest week for me, so I'm just gonna find whichever group is feeling just right for me and then sit in and loosen up my legs. But I'm still gonna get the hours in. It's nice once you start rolling. When we're stationary there, you couldn't really tell. I'm going retro today. On this ride, I left Northampton, rode into the woodlands. It was a cloudy morning, but then the wind picked up. After we picked up Team RR, I went on Research Forest, Fish Creek. Somebody had a flat, so we had to stop briefly, but we continued into Montgomery. I filmed until 2854 there, but I stayed with the group. We went into Montgomery. We went through the forest on 149. I had to briefly let them go. They were just hammering too much, more than I was accustomed to. We took 1375. I got caught back up because they backed off the pace a bit. And then we came back down on Bethel Road through Montgomery. And the group split up there at the light. They didn't wait. So I went through Keenan, let them go. I was in the second group that got through the light, cut through the neighborhoods, and then took Honia Egypt back into the woodlands. It was a really good ride, even with the wind. It was a quicker ride than when we do it by ourselves. So hope you enjoy the clips we got for you. All right, legends. I'm rolling into Crust Pizza. The wind picked up on the way out here. It's coming from the northeast, so we're getting a front. So riding with these guys, it's more of a high intensity effort, and so you have to gradually get yourself acclimated and adapted to it. It's a good turnout today. That's Bob right there. The group ends up splitting because when you're riding into the wind, it's like riding up a hill. Everybody has to work, and so people who are not accustomed to that kind of intensity, it really wears you down quickly. I do a time lapse here because we're standing there for a while, and once it ends, you will see we're talking about the wind. The trees are being blown around. It is gusting from the northeast, just steadily blowing as well. The wind's not going to be any less. Yeah, we're waiting. It's about 7:34. It's time to go. Look at the tree over there. It's been picking up since I left. We're talking about the wind. That's Randy. Look at those trees. You hear we're getting pounded by the wind. It drizzled a little bit when I was on the way there, and then once I got there, it stopped, and it actually ends up being a very beautiful fair day. The trees are being blown around, and we battle the wind the entire journey north. It's blowing out of the northeast, which is from behind us right now and to the right. I decided to stay with them because instead of riding solo into the wind, it's better to just sit in the group and get towed along. No, someone else. It wasn't me. It might have been Paul. Yeah, it might have been Paul. Jerry and I talking about somebody. He said somebody told him the gas station, restroom. That's another place. Any small space. That's my biggest thing. Jerry discussing where the risks are getting exposed to these germs and stuff. You know,
Yeah, this is a good sized group. Nice. Carp.
Where are you saying? Where's it going?
I missed the route. Yeah, but they're going to start with research and, you know.
Yeah, Jerry asked me if I heard the route. He and I were talking, so I didn't follow what they were doing. You know, we find out later they're going into the forest and up Osborne Road. So once I find out, I decided to just sit with them.
Hey, Dan. Morning.
That's Dan Jaworski with his green setup. Nice setup.
Light drizzle, and it's supposed to get sunny. It's going to dip. The temperature will dip and then come right back.
Yeah, I keep up with the weather up until the time I
drop, and then by 9 or so it starts going back up. So it's gonna be a nice day.
Yeah, up until the time I put my phone up, I keep up with the weather because it changes. You can't look at it the night before and then just stay with that. You got to keep up with it to know what to wear and what you're dealing with. All of that matters. It's a good view of the guys. Got a good sized group here. Once we get on Fish Street, the group breaks up. Somebody ends up having a flat. You'll see us pull over and wait. At first, they're not aware, and Jerry rides up and tells them. I just use the road here. It's cleaner. And I don't have to keep darting back from that shoulder. The shoulder ends at every intersection. Well, not really ends. The curve from the intersection juts out. See, everybody's coming over because it narrows and then the curb from the other street juts out. So you have to be careful. You got to if you're going to get on the road, you got to do it early, especially if you're riding solo, so the drivers are aware that you're using the road. So a lot of times those shoulders are nice and smooth. They're not uneven, and I'll use them, but I make sure I get over long before I get to the intersection.
Good morning.
And I check. That's Doug right there in the green Rafa kit. Doug shot. It's Jerry over there in the Texas colored jersey there. I think the RDBC jersey, the Grand Fondo jersey. That's Doug. They have a ride during the week called the Hammer Fest. The WCC guys meet in an area called Woodbine, and it's a pretty fast ride. It's just I don't have time in the afternoons. I wish I could go because that will speed up my adaptation to this kind of riding. So, but you can always do your own thing, you know, get yourself prepared.
So is Max short for Maximilian? Is Max short for Maximilian?
No, it's just Max.
Just Max, okay.
I have 3 names. My friend's gonna make up.
I was asking him if his name Max was short for Maximilian.
Okay.
The rider that used to ride with the Motorola team back in the day, Maximilian Chianti.
Maximilian. Okay, yeah. Stopping.
Now, this was really cool to see after last week. Everybody stopped for the light. That's kind of cool because we have to rehab our image. So I was very, very impressed to see this. We have a rep to protect. Even when you're riding solo, at least slow down and check. Even if you don't have to unclip. You can just slow down, check, and then go. You know, a lot of times I would just do a track stand if the light is short. That's kind of cool. But if you must, yeah, you unclip. But you are a vehicle. You are subject to the rights and the laws of the road. But in order to get those rights, you got to obey the rules of the road. It's just better all around. We're ambassadors of our sport. So it was cool to see. It was really nice. That's the way your group needs to do stuff, because you're not racing and, you know, it's not a close course. I think Dan is asking Jerry how he's feeling. Because once you're over this illness with COVID, it doesn't just leave you 100%. You have issues that you're dealing with. Some people have scarred lungs and different things. It's like it suffocates you and it leaves stuff behind. Some people have heart issues. It varies with everybody. So you don't just walk away free. It's a headache. So Jerry is riding with Team RR because he told me that he's not at the point where he can ride with the WCC guys. They ride a lot faster and they go further at that pace. So he's trying to get himself fully healed before he pushes at that level. You know, which is smart. You have to listen to your body. That's Jerry on the left here. So he's not positive anymore, but he's still dealing with the remnants of having the COVID-19 virus. And then he's also an asthmatic, so that made it more of a challenge for him. It's a good shot here. I didn't realize it was going to turn out this well. It's a good shot. I'm using my regular gloves because it's warmer and it's a lot easier to handle the camera because of the fabric that they use in there. So it's just one or two gloves we have. You know, Paul has the same challenge sometimes. There was a couple of gloves based on the fabric they use. So we'll just have to watch that. Because this was a no-brainer. I didn't have to think about the camera at all. I just rode. It's very windy, guys and girls. It's blowing from the right, and right now it's pushing us from the back, but mostly from the right. It's blowing from the north, and we're about to turn north. We're headed west here. We're turning north. They're almost finished with this lane now. They've added the little piece that will blend onto this road, and it looks like it will only have a lane for a bit. I don't know if they're going to extend it all the way. We'll see. But you see the new asphalt, that will be a lane. I don't know if they'll extend it all the way to 1488 up there. But it's a good distance right now, so they may do that. There's a school here. Either a school or a daycare where you see this turn lane. That may just become a right lane. And then right here it ends. So we'll see if they add anything on this stretch from that corner. They probably don't need to. I don't see them doing it initially, unless the traffic volume builds to the point where they have to.
Hey Rick, how you doing, man?
That's Rick. Rick had joined us a few weeks back when we were going to Willis. So he was saying that the group is big, and I told him, yeah, it's been that way for the last few weeks, and a bunch of riders from Bike Barn have joined us. This guy on the right in front of me here with the bike land jersey, when he's riding, his whole bike rotates. I mean, when I say rotate, I mean it glides. As he pedals, it glides. I don't know if that's just his style, but it's a little unusual. Meaning when he pedals left, the bike moves left. When he pedals right, the bike moves right. You can see a little bit of it there. I don't know if I'm behind him enough when we're going fast. When we're going faster, it's more pronounced. It's like the bike glides with each pedaling action.
Yeah.
So he's now on a straight line. I mean, there's nothing disconcerting or anything, but it's just different. It's like the bike waddles. I haven't seen that before. That's Max right there. He's joined us. He hadn't been here in a while.
We probably should push that thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about the fact that the light may not change for us. We don't have a car behind us. Those guys are already going from the opposite direction. So I go ahead and sneak through riders here. I sneak across, I check the right lane.
Oh, there we go.
But then the light changes.
Cool.
So I didn't need to go push that button. I didn't want us sitting there for too long, so it worked out. Go across 1488 here, cutting through the neighborhoods to get out to the open road. We turn 1 block early on this day, and so we get to Fish Creek earlier than we normally do.
Morning.
I've got the camera in my left hand flipped around, and this is a good shot. Abby likes to make comments about, oh, give me those thighs and this and that, and have mercy on me. He does all these little, I don't know what's the point of that. So I told him, I said, you can't have them that wouldn't suit you. Because he asked, where is my twin brother? I told him he's not here.
Lots of wind today.
So I told him lots of wind today, and I rolled up. Get closer to this guy. I think his name is Darren, guy on the right. So if you're riding with a group that hammers and you want to stay with them, what you want to do is give yourself different goals, meaning the first time stay with them up to a certain point or a certain amount of minutes or hours, however long, and then you keep extending it. Well, you don't want your form to deteriorate, but then between those rides you have to adapt by doing similar efforts, so you build up your tolerance for that. That's what it takes. So you really need a plan. It doesn't matter what kind of riding you're doing, you need to have a plan so you can focus instead of just riding around. We turn here. We usually turn at the next block, no big deal. Somebody turned, that guy was going the correct way. The rider on the right in the white jersey. So we turn a bit early, but it takes us to Fish Creek just a little earlier.
Got a block early, I think. What's that? I think it's a block early.
Yeah, I told Rick we turned a block early. That's Rick here. That's Max on the left. He said he has 3 names. A lot of people with Spanish or Latin ancestry use, they have 3 names, the maternal, paternal name, and their first name. And he said that his friends had problems pronouncing his name, and so they just started giving him names. And so I guess he liked Max. So they gave him Max, and it's stuck with him, and he likes that. Because I was asking him if Max was short for Maximilian. He said no, it's just Max. So we hit the open road here, and we turn right into the teeth of this north wind. You can see it says 14 Celsius. When I started, I had said it was 20 C, but it was like 18, so it's dropped 4 degrees. And it was forecasted to drop and then pick back up as the sun came out. I stayed to the left of that water you see there. So we had a bit of rain here. I stayed to the left of the water. Because that's enough to get you dirty. Get your bike dirty. Get on your shoes and so forth. So no reason to ride through it. You see where this rider in the blue is. He's got a nice Rafa jersey. I like how he blended the Rafa jersey with the Santini short. It's the same blue. It's hard to do with different vendors sometimes, but he pulled it off. This guy's sitting out in the wind. I moved to the right so I won't have to use my brakes. The wind's slowing me down. It's very windy. In a little bit, I'm going to tell him if you want to get in, it's okay. Because he's hesitating. He's not sure if I want to stay on this guy's wheel or not. But he wants to get in here, so I just tell him. You can get in if you want to. He's catching a lot of wind here. I'm in a pocket between the two of them. Yeah, right there, I just told him if you can get in if you want. So he's gonna wait till there's enough of a gap, you know. I back off to leave a little bit of room so he can come in, but he doesn't get in right away. We're gonna be going up a little grade and then he'll slip in. You'll see him point and slip in. You hear that wind. I'm sitting between the two of them right now, and it's just perfect. The camera gets a good shot. I get a great draft right now. So the wind is like climbing because you have to keep the pressure on. You're working against resistance. I mean, a tremendous amount of resistance. Your speeds will be lower, but your effort is what you pay attention to. You see him point right now. He looked back because he's ready to start getting in. This wind's picking up. That road just went up. Now it's leveling off. And I just sit back far enough to where one bike can fit. I'm still getting a decent draft here. We're not going that hard yet. That's Doug behind me there. Flip the camera back. So he's gotten in the line. I'm gonna move up to him. So right here in a little bit, you will see us pass. One of our riders has a flat. And he pulls over to the right there. And we pass.
Do you have a flat?
And the guys up front, we got a gap because when he slowed down, we slowed down. They kept going. So there's a gap up there. They're not aware of it. I'm not sure if they're going to wait, not wait. And then everybody starts coming around. So I decided, okay, well, Doug was behind me. Now he's going around. Then Jerry ends up riding to the front and lets them know someone has flatted. This is Darren here, so I just sit on his wheel. I mean, I can close the gap if I have to, but don't waste energy you don't need to waste. My momentum takes me past Darren and next to Doug here. I just enjoy that. wind and momentum and let it slow me down, and then I'll slip in once they come by. And you always want to check when you're getting back in the line, make sure there's no rider there. Just tilt your head and look, because you're changing your position. It's your responsibility to check. Once we descend here, and then I realize, okay, they must be waiting for him because the pace is down. We end up pulling into a hiking trail that I was not aware existed. It's an entrance to a hiking trail back in here called Lake
I guess
Creek.
they decided to wait for the guy that had a flat up the hill there.
Lake Creek Reserve. That's what it's called. So right here, we pull into that driveway. Which is an entrance to a hiking trail. Right there, the Lake Creek Preserve hiking entrance. That's where we are.
He's not riding today. Well, not with us anyway. He may go out later. He got something going on.
Yeah, if Doug asked whether Paul was here, I thought he's not riding today. He's not riding with us. He may ride later. You know, sometimes his schedule changes. And here are the guys. About 12 minutes later, the flat's fixed. Let's go. So Mark said, thanks for waiting. So we're waiting for them. They're zooming by. And then the light's going to change up there, so we get a split, but they'll wait a little bit. Because there's a lot more work to chase into the wind. You have to work so much harder.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what they were going to do, but I don't think they knew.
I'm telling Dan. Dan was with them. You hear me tell Dan they didn't know.
I think Jerry rode up and told them. They didn't know. Okay. Because we had a gap to the front.
Yeah,
So Jerry
it's
rode
letting
up
Dan
and
know
told them
that they didn't know that there was a flat. That's why they didn't stop right away. Normally we'd stop up on that hill where the guy had the flat, because there are plenty of little streets to turn into there. But it all worked out, so we're back together. Some riders rode on ahead. I think Bob's one of them. And Bob posted later after the ride that he got dropped early on Fish Creek. So that means by the time you see us catch him, I guess he doesn't hang on to the pace because he's up ahead. And I think Max and Rick did not wait here. They kept riding. They stopped with us initially, but then they took off. I wanted to show just the kind of watts, almost 600 to 800 watts, just for us to ride up to these guys. The wind will do that. The hill will do that. So you work a lot harder in the wind or going up a climb. And if you're not used to working that hard, then it's hard to hang on even in a group, because if you're just used to being on a flat road and sitting in, it's a lot less watts required to do that than when you're riding into the wind or up a hill. So until you acclimate, it will be hard to hang on. So we lost quite a few people on Fish Creek, but a good chunk of the group stayed together. So here you have to ride smart. You have to sit close. And look at my watts just to get up to speed. You're working like, I think, 3 times as hard. I mean, we're doing 37 kilometers an hour into a 10-mile-an-hour headwind. So to get going initially, it takes a lot of watts. Same thing on a flat road. That's why racers accelerate to break away from the pack. requires a lot of watts to get you going. And that all wears your legs. Wear them down. So just to do about 20 miles an hour, which we're riding between 19 to 21 thereabouts right now. And then this road is a false flat. So we got a grade. We're going into a 10 mile an hour headwind, about 16 kilometers per hour headwind. So it's a lot of work. You have to pace yourself. Yet another reason why you don't train to speed. So normally I would be maybe 150 watts, 250 watts. Today it's like 3 to 6 if you look at the wattage. Because this road is right now, it says 2%. As we go up, even at these low speeds, because of the wind, we're working almost 3 times as hard. So you have to draft even more, because you can only do that so long. I mean, based on how your training has gone. There's Bob, and he posted after the ride that he got dropped early on Fish Creek, so it had to happen after we passed him here. He had been ahead riding into the wind, and that will wear you out too. He was riding solo. So once the group passes, I guess he couldn't hang on to the pace. I decided to stay with him for this very reason. It's windy. I didn't want to ride solo, and they didn't stop at Taco Corner on the way out. They stopped on the way back. So they did about, I think, 60 kilometers, almost 100. Not 60 kilometers, 60 miles. The total ride was about 60 to 75 or something like that. They had posted, but they did almost 100 kilometers before they stopped. So maybe 80 to 100 kilometers before they stopped, which is great. And whenever they do that, yeah, I definitely want to stay with them, because they go longer before they have to stop. That was good. Everybody's working because there's nowhere to hide. You can sit as close as you want, but the road's going up and the wind blowing as it is, it's blowing from the north mostly, directly in our face, and then from the right, but mostly from the north. That's why we're in this straight line. And periodically I would sit a little to the left, like I'm moving to the left to slow down here, and then I just drift right back behind this guy. He's going to the right so he can slow down. When you're in the group, you get kind of sucked along and the yo-yo effect. So he doesn't want to use his brakes. So he'll drift to the right so he can slow down a little bit as he soft pedals or stops pedaling. I'm on his left. So this way there are no surprises. I can see around him. He can see around the rider in front. That's how you ride in a group. You need to be able to see so you can relax. You still get the drafting effect because I'm behind him, but I'm not too far off to the left. The road goes up here. So we're riding around. Normally I would be riding 150 to 250. I'm riding 300, almost 400 watts sitting in the pace line. That's why it's hard riding in the wind or in crosswind. And off camera we encountered a bunch of crosswind when we got in on Lone Star Parkway, which is headed west. This was blowing from the north, so we had to spread out across the lane. We took over the whole road. That's off camera. But you had to be in an echelon to last, because it was a 3.5% climb with the wind blowing. A crosswind. And up ahead at that intersection coming, I think it gets up to around 3%. So if you have killed yourself down here and you get up there, it's just hard to recover. And in this situation, if you're pulling, don't feel like you have to stay there too long. What's his name? Doug told me at one of the stops that Doug shot in the green jersey that I talked about. He's up there right now on the left, right there. That's Doug. He said when he got to the front around here, his wattage went up 200 watts when he got to the front. He had to work that much harder to stay up there. So in this situation, you don't stay up too long. This guy's on an older light speed. The light speed started, well, one of the big vendors in the titanium craze back in the day. He has a light speed road frame here. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. He's waving that guy up in front of him. He's staying close to us because of this wind. He's trying to get some kind of shelter as he drifts back because there are no gaps right now. And another thing in the wind, if you're a big person, don't follow a very little rider. You won't get that much of a draft. Follow somebody your size or bigger if you can. Let the small guys follow each other. This guy's a good sized rider, so I'm behind him. I'm getting a decent draft. Both of those riders. So this road kind of drifts a little west here, like it says west-northwest. So that means the wind's coming from the right a little more. So I sit on the left for two reasons. I can slow down as this road is up and down, little dips. But you can see my shadow on the road. I think, oh, the sun kind of went away. But I'm very relaxed. And I'm very close to this guy's wheel. For one thing, he's a very smooth rider. He's very predictable. So he's easy to follow. He's not a squirrely rider. I like following riders like this. It's like I know what he's going to do before he does it. When they slow down, he doesn't hit the brakes. He drifts to the right. So he's easy. This is the guy that had the flat. He was the one I was talking about. That his whole bike moves when he pedals. It's like it glides left and right as he pedals. So if you're following a rider that is unpredictable, just make sure you don't overlap so you're not reacting to everything they do. But whenever possible, follow the smoother riders. It's just so much less anxiety involved. You can just relax and ride, focus on riding. I'm sitting so close to this guy right now, you can see I'm at the top of zone 2. But regardless of what zone you're in, what matters is that you're going to need to push. Because of the wind, when the road goes up, you've got to push because these guys were not backing off that much. And so as a result, you're working your legs harder than you normally do. You saw him point. They're pointing at stuff. I just stay on the road so I don't have to be concerned about it. Because when they point, I move away from where they're pointing. So I'm just sitting on the lane right here. The road's going down. So I end up drifting up and then the wind slows me down. That's the same thing he's doing by going a little to the right there. You see? Then he drifts back behind Mike S5's wheel. That's what you do. You don't need your brakes, not in the pace line. If you're braking in the pace line, that means something serious has happened. There's been a pile up or somebody's gone down or something like that. And that's usually a mess because everybody else has to react. The road goes up here. So any energy you save, you got to use it here. If you look at the watts, they're going to climb. It says 2%. I think it gets to like 3, but I don't know if it registers. But this is a long drag before we get to the overpass. If If you notice, my cadence is around 80 thereabouts. I probably stay around 75 to 95. I feel like because of the resistance, I treat it like I'm climbing. So you have to find what works for you. Yeah, that's what he was pointing at, that pile of debris on the right. They just repaired the road again. They patched and scraped stuff to the side and left it there. You should be required to clean that up. See, there's a lot of debris on that shoulder, so we just use the lane here. Because they have drains as you go further up the overpass. It's not too bad. See, he's gone on the shoulder because it's cleaner. Plus, he can see around Mike S5. There's a lot of debris out there. I stayed to his left. So if he had been coming to the left, I probably would have been staying to his right. There are two reasons I'm on the left. The road's cleaner here. We have the right lane available, and I can get a good shot with the camera because the lens is on the left of the camera. So we're really, really pouring it on, and then we're going downhill. We don't really back off. I just use my momentum and let the wind slow me down as we come down the hill. They were slowing down too much, and then I drift back behind him. And everybody in the pace line will know because they'll be doing something similar. And by me making that move, the guy behind me can relax because I'm not hitting my brakes to slow down. I'm saying this because there are some riders that brake too much, mostly inexperienced group riders. You don't need to be using your brakes in the pace line. There's some riders that brake too much when they're descending, and the brakes overheat. Brake when you need to, let it go. Let the rims or the discs or whatever you have cool off. And then you brake again when you need to. You don't need to ride the brakes. Take the speed off and then go. That's Doug. So he had been pulling. That's what he told me. He said his watts went up 200 watts when he hit the front. Doug has lost a lot of weight since I met him. It's a lot smaller. Somebody getting a ticket for doing something. Probably most around here is mostly speeding. They don't stop you for too many things other than speeding and stop signs. Those are the main things. They call them primary violations. They don't stop you for minor things. But if they stop you for one of those and they see other things, then they tack it on. They do that for public safety, so hopefully that driver can think about whatever it is he was doing. See, everybody's all over the road. We're turning here. Okay. So the wind saps your speed, and so you need to focus on effort. Either your perception of how hard you're working, your heart rate zones, or your power zone. This is Capitol Hill Road. We're going to have a bit of a tailwind, and then the crosswind will be blocked because we got a lot of trees on the right. So we turn, we've got a tailwind and a crosswind from the right. There's Dan on this side here. Dan the man in his stealth outfit. Stay a little to his left because we got a bit of a cross. get these winds when we get cool fronts that are trying to come in, especially in the springs, in the winter also, but right now these spring storms coming in. Because of the trees on the right, I go to the right for visibility. Then I'm gonna slow down so I can get everybody in the frame. I think I'll turn the camera to the side and then behind to kind of get a shot of the entire group as we go through here. That's Mike S5. There's Doug. That's Darren. Abby. I get behind Abby here. That's Robert. This is the guy I was talking about as he pedals his bike glides. Like he has his rocking motion. I think his position needs to be tweaked a bit. You shouldn't be gliding with each stroke. There's too much movement in his hip area. He's pointing, we're going to be turning right. So Dan and what's his name, Jerry are back there chatting. So Dan just told Jerry, Eldred has it on camera. The camera didn't get the conversation, but I got the part where Dan said something that that Eldred has it on tape. I don't know what they were talking about. Yeah, we're talking about the weekend. So it's a bit of a hiatus here, so you can drink, eat, do whatever, but stay close. It's windy, you don't want to be wasting energy. There's Dan. When you see the group like this, where you got two lines, that means we're not going full gas right now. It's an opportunity. You rest your legs. You stay close, stay smart. Do not sit in the wind unnecessarily, because you'll need that energy once the group picks back up. Whether you in a race or not, there are always areas where there's a lull, but you still have to be alert. So if you fall too far back, then you pay the price to catch up. It's harder. You're riding with guys that are like 75 kilos or 70 kilos. Like I'm like 86, 87 kilos. So you have to really gauge your effort, because when the road goes up, you have to put out more watts to keep up. If they're, they don't have to put out the same amount of watts per kilo as bigger riders. So you have to train to where you can carry your body weight over these grades. And with the group, you have to do it repetitively. As we go through this intersection here, there is a climb in about probably 500 meters maybe. So you have to prepare and be ready. And even if there weren't a climb, you have to always be alert, even on a flat road, because if somebody accelerates, you might need to put the same amount of watts down to stay there that you would use on a climb. Same kind of wattage. So you've got to build up a tolerance for those repeats. It's the repeats that get you. That's why the wind is brutal. There is no rest in the wind. There's the hill. So you look at my watch right now, in that little dip, it was like 70 something. I had jumped to almost 300. Now they're at 4 something, 5 something. You gotta work. Your legs are doing the work. It doesn't matter what zone you're in. You're putting out the watts here. You gotta be able to do that, because at some point when your legs get tired, you're gonna have to let the group go. So if you want to be able to do that, you gotta be able to do those what they call intervals for the entire duration of time. Whether it's a 3-hour event or a 4-hour event, you gotta be able to do those repeats. So we finished the climb. And we're going so hard, I'm not really worried about who's behind me. I'm just riding. Because we're going directly into the wind, and that was a 3.5% climb there, and that was long. This one's shorter. It's just a little mound, what we call a sprinter's bump. And then we're going to turn right. And after every turn, you want to be in the appropriate gear so you can accelerate out of it. You don't want to be caught in the wrong gear, dragging a huge gear. You will get gapped. Dan downshifted right there. I had already downshifted in the corner. You see my cadence? Triple digits. I'm basically sipping the gas. I'm only pedaling as much as I have to. At this point, I don't know that they're going long before they come back to Taco Corner. So I'm thinking I will be diverting from them and riding solo for the rest of the day. And I find out later that they're going long, through the forest and then come back. So that was nice. I go on the right, Dan's on my left. I just want to keep my momentum that I built up. Two Dans. That's Dan on the right here. We'll call Dan the man, and Dan Jaworski, the guy with the green. Car up. Abby's in the other lane. He needs to close it up. I stay a little behind so I can see my path, because this road has a lot of little cracks and crevices. And I want to make sure I find the smoothest path. Why is that important? You save your wheels. It just makes sense. You decrease your chances of having a puncture by hitting obstacles. So when the road is bumpy like that, follow an experienced rider, or find your own path. This road's not that bad. It got a few cracks, but for the most part, it's pretty good. But as we get into the forest, the roads get worse, and you have to use the same skill. You have to back off so you can see. You don't want to be riding blind on bumpy roads. You don't want to hit bumps other people hit. You want to avoid them.
Hey, Dan. How you doing, buddy?
That was Dan. Dan patted me on the back. Oh, good to see you here, man. Because a lot of times we break away from them and go do our own thing. So
Left turn.
he said it's good to see you with us. Mill route. We turn left here. So the wind's coming from the right now, and then just a little behind us. But it's mostly a crosswind. But this is protected. Mill route has a lot of trees and houses. If you're riding solo on a windy day, you want to plan your route accordingly. Fight the wind for a bit, but plan a route to where you get a bit of a reprieve. That could be a little rest interval. You know, and there are certain stretches where if you just feel like working, you plan to ride the wind for an hour or whatever. So with this group, we're averaging around 19, 20 miles an hour maybe into the wind overall. So it probably took us, let's see, an hour to get to this point. See, it says 156. Probably an hour 10. Because we stopped also for the flat. So I would say an hour. So this is the guy I was talking about watching me. Oh, cool. We got a good picture. See how he pedals and the bike slides? Look at that. Look at his bike. He's not tracking on a straight line. I mean, he's not doing anything crazy, but that's very unusual. And that wastes energy because you're actually traveling further if you're moving all over the road. You see that? As he pedals, it drifts left and right. I noticed it later in the ride when we're coming back off camera. I was behind him, and he would pedal left, and the bike would move left. Nothing to where it wasn't like a squirrely move, but maybe you'll see it here again. As he pedals, his bike moves off the line he's on. Yeah, like there, to the right, there. Look at that. That's a dramatic shift. There, that's what I'm talking about. The harder it got, the more his bike moved. So if he gets his position tweaked, he will use less energy. I've never seen somebody ride like that. It just seems a bit. I think he's squandering some energy there. It would be hard to do an echelon with him because if the wind's coming from one side and he's pedaling and moving like that, that would mess up the line. Hey, look at the bike move. The harder it got, the more pronounced it was. That wind is just kicking. Every time we get out of the trees, you can feel it. It was not a day to do hands-free riding. But it made more sense to stay with the group today because it's a lot easier riding with a few other riders, even if it's 2 or 3, into the wind than by yourself. You get a reprieve and you can handle it longer. If you are riding into the wind by yourself, then you find a gear you can handle for the entire duration. when we get to the corner up there, I think they're going to stop, and so people said stop, let's regroup, whatever, and then I decided, well, I'm going to kind of roll on my own. But then they didn't really stop long. In a short while, they come up to me. That's Doug stopping over there. A lot of people take a nature break out here. It's a quiet road. So they said they were stopping, and I think I stopped briefly, and then I say I'm gonna just spin, just keep moving. I don't think, yeah, I think I just keep moving. I move over here and turn right, and I let them know. And just keep moving.
Don't keep rolling, man.
So I just decided to ride, but then I turned and that wind hit me. I was like, man. But then shortly after they came, and by that time I had turned the camera off.
5 hours and 55 minutes later, I'm pulling into a subdivision across from where I live. I stayed with those boys because they went to Osborne Road, it's through the forest. They didn't stop until on the way back. So with it being just brutally windy, I decided to stay with them. It was a hard ride. I haven't done this kind of riding in a long time, so it's gonna take me a bit to get comfortable with it. But got a good workout. Had to let them go a couple of times. But I've got some good clips. By now you've seen them. And I had turned the camera off on 2854 when they stopped, thinking we're gonna be there for a while. Then I changed my mind and started to roll, but I didn't turn the camera on. And so they came back up and we just started to ride, and they didn't stop at Taco Corner. They went out 149. You've seen the route by now. But that's the kind of riding, if you're gonna compete, you gotta get with a fast group and increase your high-speed endurance. That's what it takes. You gotta do the work. So since Paul wasn't here today, I decided to hang with them, and I let them go on the way back when we got to Adui, and I cut through the neighborhood on my own. So the wind's behind me now. It seems to be quiet around here, but it's really not. It's still blowing. It's at least 10 to 12 miles per hour. You know, like a 18-kilometer-an-hour wind all day. So the day was very nice and cool. Started out overcast, and it's turned into a beautiful sunny day. Fair day. So I hope you all got a chance to get some K's in, because I went ahead and did some hard work today.